Real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Let's talk about it. A little Real Talk Friday coming for you here. Everybody's live from their own Real Talk studios. We come to you with a little extra every Tuesday and Friday, and here we are again on another quarantine Friday. A ton to talk about still. NFL draft. You know, people are coming out and talking about Ruggs jumping up the board. Judy dropping because of size a little bit concerned. So we'll talk about that throughout the show. Eagles news, as always. We always bring Eagles news daily here on A2D, and we'll discuss some draft options they have, either going up, going back, whatever the case may be. We'll talk about a little of that. Rex Ryan on Amari Cooper coming out, taking shots today. Some people upset and offended by it, but I mean, realistically, everything he said was pretty much spot on. The guy's a disappearing act and got paid a lot of money to disappear. But our main topic at hand today is the best sporting events we've been to. And like every show here on A2D, we're brought to you by our doc, Make Him Yours. That's Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton locations. And listen, he's doing everything remotely right now, so still bringing you the service. So get in contact with our doc, Make Him Yours. That's Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. Tom Arnone, Ralph Del Vecchio, Ryan Brodo, Jake Friel, Ryan Daly. What up, Ritz? This is the first time we've enjoyed each other.
Yeah, I don't think you and I have ever done a show together.
Brian, I could do without, but Andy, it's good to have you. Good to see you. And we're going to get a little bit of a wrestling perspective into our main topic at hand, which is the best sporting events we've been to throughout our lives. And I mean, I know I have so many, so we'll discuss it, talk about our poll question brought to you by Ambuck Services. Find them on the web, ambuckservices.com, AMBUCK services.com. Michael Ambrose, tell them the boys from A2D sent you 20% off. Gutters, gutter guards, outside installation of anything, decks redone, whatever you need, they got you covered. The 08 Phillies World Series clincher was the best sporting event you've been to live. Agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We live there, and anywhere you get your podcast, we're there as well. So everywhere, again, like I say, every show means everywhere. So I don't know. I always do that. Do I need to tell people? No, we don't. So right into the poll, the 08 Phillies World Series clincher was the best sporting event you've been to live. I'll get it started because obviously that's the one I was at. And to me, it hands down was because it was a two-nighter. It didn't just start one night. You know, one night's one thing. You know, I was able to, and the people that were there get to go to two games essentially for the price of one. And for me specifically, I went the first time with my mom and then the second game with my dad. So I got both of them to be able to experience it, enjoy it with both of them was a great time. And then never seeing my dad have tears running down his eyes was something meaningful to me. And that atmosphere. I mean, I don't know if I've been to a game, you know, we could talk about, and I'll get into other ones later. There's other games I've been to that are close atmosphere wise, but the electricity, the atmosphere, and the leadoff double by Jenkins in sort of game two of that of the split, you know, place erupted. It erupted on that double. I just never experienced something like that in my life. So I agree with the poll. Family, you let us know, chime in. We'll be showing off and reading off your comments, questions, you know, excitements about the best sporting event you've been to. So it's going to be a fun time. Come enjoy the ride with us here. And so I fully agree. That's the best game I've seen live. Boys?
I'll go first. Obviously, I wasn't at the 08 Phillies World Series game. I was actually home watching on TV. I didn't have to pay any money to go see it. Just sat there watching for free. Had my own popcorn. But for me, I think it was just 2017 NFC Championship game for the Eagles, man. I was there, upper deck with all the hooligans up there. The drunks and stuff like that. It was the best atmosphere I've ever been to a football game or any sporting event. That was mine, man. That whole stadium, you just felt that thing shook whenever a big play happened, whenever whenever they were driving down the field. It was amazing atmosphere. It was electrifying. It was awesome, man. That was the best game I've ever been to in my entire life.
Yeah, I would agree with you if you didn't take a shot at people spending money for the Phillies game. But
yeah, well, I didn't spend money. I didn't spend money. Yeah, I didn't spend money. I sat at home and watched it.
Yeah, but you spent money on the Eagles.
Yeah.
Why the shot at spending money for the Phillies? You could have did without it. You could have did without it. You could have went on. Never needed.
Gotta take your little jabs here and there,
All right. Continue.
Go ahead. Somebody else can go.
I'll go. For me, obviously I disagree with the poll because I was not there either. But for me, the best sporting event I've ever been to was a year prior to the 2008 World Series run, and that was the 2007 playoff clincher. Obviously, the first time the Phils made a playoff appearance since obviously '93, so the first time in 14 years. To say that it was completely, I don't even loud isn't even the word in that stadium. And I'm not even just talking about the moment that we obviously clinched. The entire game, it was nonstop. The volume was at its peak. People were losing voices left and right. And obviously after the moments where we officially clinched, I mean, people were yelling and screaming for it seemed like 20, 30 more minutes. People running all over the field. There were 5 people that were trying to run on the field. 4 of them made it to the other side. We were cheering for them. It was like its own little event afterwards. The parking lot was an absolute war zone. People trying to leave there. People hanging Mets jerseys out the window. People screaming. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable because, like we talked about, it was the first time since '93, and that's a long freaking. Like, it seems like now, kind of, we're in a state for the Phillies to where it's kind of been, disappointment after disappointment the last handful of years, and we've talked about it numerous times. It feels like it's been forever since 2011. Well, that's only 9 years. You know what I'm saying? Imagine it being 14 years. So it was all that energy, all that frustration, all of that heartache of what could have been over all those years. And it was finally over once that final pitch happened. Obviously, Brett Myers had the final strikeout, and it was all sort of celebration. Obviously, they didn't win it all. They didn't win a playoff game that year. They got swept by the Rockies. But it was the beginning, and it was symbolic because it was the beginning of that historic run, obviously, for the Phils. And the beginning of, obviously, I think for a lot of us, the first world championship that we saw in Philadelphia in our lifetimes, and that was 08.
Yeah, to piggyback off of 08 for a second and agreeing with the poll, it wasn't even the game itself, well, obviously meant so much, but afterwards, too, it hitting the streets right away. And the party beginning, that was so much a part of that atmosphere and what made that night great. And, Ralphie, I'm sure, the NFC title game, same thing, essentially on, what transpires after that. And being a lot younger at the time, everybody was together. I mean, everybody was calling everybody and everybody met up and just walked Broad Street. I mean, we just walked Broad Street because all we used to talk about was wanting to be on Broad Street. That's all we ever spoke about growing up. It's all this isn't new saying, hey, got to get the Broad. No, I mean, this has been going on forever. So that's all we talked about because we never got the Broad. And then we finally got to walk Broad. We walked Broad Street. And that's not even talking about the parade. We just were able to walk Broad Street that damn night. And that meant so much to so many people because we never got to experience it. So everything that happened, I'm going to the game, but just anybody that remembers that night will probably talk about, and I'm sure people will comment in, that was one of their best moments, period, was just walking. Not even the parade, just the night of winning it. Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of what Ryan was saying and kind of go into that same final series in 2007 where I went to the game of that Friday night. I believe it was a Friday night. Cole Hamels pitch. The atmosphere in that stadium was just out of control, and Cole Hamels just brought his A game. Everybody was cheering for the Marlins as they kept getting a lead, and it was unreal to be a part of. Like Brian was saying, everybody screaming, high-fiving each other, just seeing the fan base just come together. It's just it was unreal. It was unbelievable, and getting to watch it all again the other night was, it's chilling, really. So that's probably one of the greatest games I've ever been to.
Shit, I just missed the high-fiving now. nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
what I would do for a high five.
I think for me personally, I disagree with Paul because obviously I was back in middle school to give everyone just a perspective when we won the World Series. Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to piggyback off of what Ralph said. The NFC title game back in 2017 was it was just the environment was different. Obviously, it was a little quiet after they got their first touchdown, but after that, after the the pick six by Patrick Robinson, it was just nonstop. It was a party. Everyone was high fiving. Just the energy after, similar to what Tom said with the '08 series, it was just energy in the parking lot. People were honking, loud noises, loud music. It was just it's something that I'll never forget personally.
So for me,
It's the one.
like you guys have been to countless, Phillies games, Eagles games, things like that. Mine is, well, all right. Well, sports wise, I did a lot of lacrosse games when I was younger.
Okay.
A lot of Wings games, and I went the night they retired Tom Hollywood Marichek, and the place was just a buzz. And I was a lot younger, so I didn't really understand it a whole lot, but the place was just a buzz because he was the backbone of that team for so long. And they retired his number that night and a whole bunch of stuff. But when you want to talk wrestling, it's Elimination Chamber in Houston last year when we didn't know it at the time, but you saw the crowning of the women's tag team champions, first ever tag team champions. But that's kind of where the whole Kofi mania leading up into WrestleMania got a lot of head steam.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd, that was the best crowd I've ever sat in. And I had no voice the next night. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what it is too, because it was a great event when you can't talk the next day.
Oh yeah,
that sort of is a determination on where stuff ranks in your top 5 of events you've been to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to ask people not only the best sporting event they've seen live, but just you can have a top 5 list. It doesn't even have to be a game where you win a World Series or you go to a Super Bowl. It can just be any impactful game that was something that you always remember. One for me is always Eagles Dallas in Dallas, going to visit my uncle down there when he lived down there, and my cousin being a big time Cowboys fan, but me being a big time Eagles fan, and my uncle owning a nightclub and being introduced to a ton of Cowboys when I was younger. But hey, I'm an Eagles fan. You're not changing me. Darren Woodson, Emmitt Smith. It was cool to meet these guys when I was younger. But to get a witness Randall play back at Old Cowboy Stadium and be able to witness games like that, even though we lost both times I went, regardless, being able to walk the field and do some of them things, those games will always mean something to me because it made that rivalry so much more to me growing up. Like I said, I got grounded over to Tommy Hutton. I got grounded. Okay, I got grounded over Tommy Hutton. Everybody remember Tommy Hutton? Remember Tommy? Remember the drop? Going in for the win? I think it was Ty Detmer took us on a drive down. We're finally going to beat the Cowboys, right? We never could beat the damn Cowboys. Never could beat Dallas. Had an opportunity, or it was a field goal or extra point, whatever one. Forget what it was. It might have been extra point, and he missed the snap. And the Eagles lost. And I remember freaking out because I knew some of the Cowboys crumbs in my family were going to be calling, and I remember crawling up the steps, getting drugged back down. It was a mess. But that would always be my second one. To get to some of the questions up here, Robbie Poe says 2010 NHL Eastern Conference Finals Game 5. Flyers defeated the Habs 4-2 on the back of Jeff Carter's 2 goals, clinching series and moving them on. I had to go with a hockey game, best game in person of my life. And that's what we want to hear from you. You want to hear the best games that you've been to. So anybody got a second one that jumps out to them? Ralphie, you got a second one?
Nah, I think just that 2017 one just really sticks with me. Just really sticks with me, man. Just because of just almost like what Ryan said, where with the heartaches through the going to the Phillies. Now you flip it over to the Eagles with all the heartaches and the what could have been with the Eagles in 08. Just imagine if the Eagles, that defense stepped it up in the fourth quarter against Arizona in 08. You go to a Super Bowl, you never know what happens, and you have that heartache. But then you come back 2017. and you're playing the high-flying Minnesota Vikings. You know, the offense was good. We all heard all week long that, this defense is the best defense in football, and Nick Foles don't got it. There's no way the Eagles are getting past Minnesota. There's no way. This is going to be an easy cakewalk. But at first you thought when Minnesota drive down the field in that game, you're like, oh, shit, here we go. It's gonna be a long night because they drove right down the field, opened Kyle Rudolph back of the corner, blown coverage, and you just sat there and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long night. It's going to be one of these nights where, you had so many hopes and the heartbreak's going to come, and then all of a sudden, Patrick Peterson, I wish we had Patrick Peterson that year. Patrick Robinson, pick 6, and the whole game flips around and we go on to win the Super Bowl. And just that whole 2017 season was amazing. But just being at that game and just seeing all the people around me high-fiving, crying, doing all that, it was just amazing, man. It was just amazing.
For me, it's tough because I'm torn between two. I'll save the one because it's not necessarily a game, so I'll save that. It was 2011. I believe it was Game 3 in the playoffs. Obviously, it's most remembered for Howard's 3-run bomb late in the game. Obviously, put him ahead in the game. We got standing room only. It was kind of a last-second decision. I don't remember the circumstances on how we were able to get into it, but I remember it was kind of a last-minute decision. We decided to go over there, and it was my first kind of vibe or experience with the playoff atmosphere, obviously, just in sports. And like I said before, obviously, for the game that we clinched in 07, obviously the playoffs, it was loud, obviously, it was awesome. And that's definitely number one for me. But I finally understood when people say that the playoff atmosphere, especially in the crowd, it's different. It's so different. And it's so hard to describe how and why. It's almost like there's a suspense in the air constantly. Everybody's tense. It's almost like you're worrying, but also you're excited because you're there. But it's because of of how high of a stake it is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That it was almost, there was a hush in the crowd throughout the entire night. And then when there was one of those moments, like obviously Howard's 3-run bomb, it was the way the crowd erupted. It just sounded different. And that was the first kind of vibe and experience I got of, okay, now I understand when people would say for years that you got to go to a playoff game, you have to go to a championship game, because it's just the feeling entering the parking lot, let alone the stadium or going to your seats, just getting on the property, it just feels different.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bri?
I definitely have another one. It's not a playoff atmosphere, though. It was a regular season game for the Phillies. My buddy came down from Boston. Him and his girlfriend spent the day in Philly. And we wound up going to the game against the Giants that night. Barry Zito was on the mound for the Giants, I believe. I don't remember who was on the mound for the Phillies. But I remember about the 4th inning, Chase Utley came up for a second at-bat and just smokes one to center field. Just absolutely ripped it. Hits that little groove in center field and kicks off the wall and goes across the warning track. I jump up immediately because I have an idea of what's about to happen. And as Chase Utley is rounding second, I'm starting to grab my buddy. I have his shirt like fisted in my hand, grabbing him because I'm getting stoked. I just see the third base coach starting to wave him around. Getting to see Chase Utley hit an inside the park home run. That place just went off. And that's probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever seen, especially in person.
And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be just, something that wants something big. It can be any moment that you've witnessed live as well. I know Crone was saying, when Don Shula became the winningest head coach, it's a great when he was 8 years old. Now, it sucks against the Eagles, but that's typical. But that's the thing. That's a good one that you'll remember. Like Eagles, Cowboys when I was 11. It's stuff that sticks with you and is what started not only the passion for sports, but continued to carry it on for a lot of us as well, is them games that we were younger and it meant a lot. I mean, I remember one in the 700 level of the vet, a guy getting knocked the hell out and falling down, like literally down the stairs. He might have fell down like 40 steps. and got up and was like, ah, and I was like, oh. I mean, there's a lot of different moments, fam, that you can chime in with. Jake, you got a second moment that sticks out to you?
It's tough for me. I was going to say the Flyer Stadium series last year, but by the time we kind of came back in overtime and won the game, a lot of people already left, just assuming that we lost, so the energy wasn't necessarily the same. I think my second would probably be the Phillies home opener last year, just because of all the anticipation of the offseason, getting Bryce Harper. The place was packed. And as soon as you hear Bryce Harper step up to the mound, the place goes nuts. And it was the Braves, right? It was the Braves last year that we opened up against.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and we just murdered them with. It was just a phenomenal, and it really reminded me of just like that October baseball kind of feel. Obviously, it wasn't a playoff game, but just that feel of it.
A lot of anticipation for that season.
Yeah.
You can't forget Andrew McCutcheon's leadoff home run too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like, except for the Bryce Harper grand slam, that was arguably like the second best moment of the season, and it was in the first 5 seconds of the season.
Yeah,
We come up today talking about that lineup from last year, about how they made pitchers work for everything early on until Capper got his hands on them too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a lineup that we were waiting for. A lot of bad baseball recently, and to come out day one and the anticipation, like you talked about, and just signing the guy to that caliber is something we waited a little while for. And that whole first week of Phillies baseball meant a lot to a lot of people last year. And it's been taken away from us right now because we actually have a manager who's competent, and it's been stolen from us right now. But we'll get back to it. Andy, another one?
See, mine, I got to go to WrestleMania 25. It was my first WrestleMania. It was one that I got to, not only was it my first one, I got to do it with my dad, but Brodo wants to talk about, playoff feel. And everybody had always told me there's nothing like watching The Undertaker at WrestleMania. There's nothing like watching Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Having them both in that classic that they had at 25 and just the electricity in the arena during their entrances and throughout that entire match, it was unmatched by anything I've seen in later years.
Yeah, and that's what starts you. You talk about starts you guys off on stuff. I think my third one, because of the impact, would have to be the Eagles Falcons game to move us on, which was just the beginning. Where again, even though we're home,
Great video, by the way.
What'd you say?
Great video, by the way.
Yeah, and one of the best videos probably on YouTube, period. Period. Is me and Wilson, who are two guys that have been friends forever and have had a lot of failure when it's come to the Eagles. A lot of hope and a lot of failure. And that game, we felt like we won a Super Bowl that day because now we were really playing with house money. And we felt that we could go beat anybody now. We felt like we could beat Minnesota at home. And just the things that went into that game where you don't win, Keanu O'Neal catch a ball, you end up probably don't win that game. But and then the stand's so important to the emotion afterwards, right? When you're talking about a goal line stance against an offense like that, right? That's what got that place even more jacked up. Like we're gonna win the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think everybody in that at Lincoln Financial Field and watching at home that night had the same feel that, we're going, because this is what happens when you go. You have moments like this where, come on, 3 times to Julio, or no, they didn't even throw to Julio. They didn't even go to Julio. They went to Julio once.
Yep.
Once. They went to Julio one time. So you had all them opportunities down there, and I think they threw the football every time. I want to say they threw the football every time, I want to believe. And they only went to Julio once. I feel like Matt Ryan threw the ball 4 freaking times down there too, and they didn't even run the ball. So more things that factored into like, wow, if we get through this one, we go to the next one. But that's just what I remember. I don't think so I could be wrong. They could have ran the ball once.
Oh yeah, you're right on the one because it was that stupid shovel pass. Remember, it was kind of a broken play, and people thought in the stadium. I'm sure. I don't know if you guys thought at the time. People thought it was a fumble because it kind of came out weird. He kind of just tossed it to. It was like a running back or something.
It was Freeman. He pitched it to Freeman.
Yeah, correct.
And he dropped it, and everybody thought it was a fumble. And I think the next play was that pass to Julio. I might be mistaken.
No, there was one that went over the end zone. It was overthrown, I believe.
Oh, and the other thing too, I think it was the same game where, it was the same game. Matt Ryan threw it to the back of the end zone, and Jordan Hicks got the pass interference, or Nigel Bradham got the pass interference, and then moved them all the way up to the 2.
Yeah, was it that drive?
I think it was that drive.
Or was that the next year we played them?
I feel like that was opening day. I feel like that was first game. I feel like that was the first game.
It was.
But either way, we stopped them. We stopped them 2 separate occasions down there, and the impact that game meant for us is, you talk about losing their voice the next day. Yeah, it was gone, and the hugs that were given out, and the excitement, and just the pure joy, feeling like you were a part of it too by being there and creating that atmosphere. But one of the best atmospheres that I've experienced in my life. And then, my next 2 are going to be more parade driven, but they're games that I've been to that I felt like have meant the most to me.
Ralph, do you have one? Or you want me to go?
You can go.
For me, it's not necessarily a game. It's an event. But you know what's funny? It's an event. It was an all-day thing, but it included a game, which obviously, Ralphie, you were here. Tom, you were there. I know a couple of the other boys that aren't in the stream on A2D, they were part of it. The 2017 NFL draft in Philly.
Oh, that was a fun time.
Yep. From us, obviously.
So mad I wasn't there.
It was awesome. We met at the studio. It felt like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. We figured out what we were doing. It was an event just trying to get over there. Then we decided last minute, we're going to go to a Phillies day game. And we ended up going over there. I feel like, and tell me if you guys disagree with this, I feel like it was probably the worst Phillies game of all time, because we were just killing time. And that was like rock bottom Phillies that year. Like, that was like, okay, this team just sucks. Like, it's not even like now where like we have hope for.
It was more of a pregame to the festivities that were to come.
Yeah, it was just a time killer. Yeah,
just like, hey, let's just go do this. They're playing. They'll put us in the city. Win-win.
And the entire population of that game, everybody in the stands were NFL draft people. They were all doing the same thing. And then we end up going over there, and just basically that entire experience of making our way through the city, getting in there. And then obviously, Tom, obviously that was a big day for A2D too. We were interviewing people, we were talking to people, we were doing a ton of videos. And then the
greatest moment in A2D history happened. I mean, we learned a lot. If you're spiritual, if you buy into any type of religion, we had Philly Jesus. I mean, Philly Jesus told us what was about to come. Yep. I mean, in the interview, he said, I said, who are we drafting? And he said, me, you, right? And and whatever other questions were asked, but we drafted Derek Barnett, who had a big plays during that run as well. But he sort of told us that we were winning the Super Bowl.
We asked him, I was gonna say, you asked him if we were going to the Super Bowl. He's like, yes.
Yep.
You asked him. So that was a part of history right there. And then also the chain of events to where I remember we were gonna go up to the beginning of the middle of the crowd right before the stadium, and then we're standing there and we're like, okay, screw this. We're not doing this, because it was hell up there. It was like you're in the middle of a mosh pit. It was awful. And then we started making our way back, and right before the entrance, we had like our own private area. Remember, with all the TVs?
With Bears fans. With Bears fans, we got to witness one of the worst picks in NFL history.
Mitchell Trubisky.
And so we got two. We got 2 things for the price of one. We got space, Bears fans, well, maybe 3 things for the price of one, and Mitchell. So
and on top of that, like, people started to see, because at the very beginning it was literally us and the Bears fans, and that was it. And then as I think people started seeing that, like, we were reacting, we were doing videos. By the end of it, we had a friggin' crowd, because remember when we were chanting "We Want Ruben"? There was a ton of people that was chanting "We Want Ruben."
People remember. Mistakes were made that night. Yeah, mistakes were made that night for me and Ralphie.
I was still taking. We don't have a linebacker, so I mean,
we don't win the Super Bowl without Derek Barnett, my brother.
Yeah, I know.
Howie, that was a good pick that year. Now he's regressed. So
usually what happens, you get 1 year out of a good player, and then they just start going down the hill.
Jake, God, you got more on it?
You want to go, Ralph? Or
No, you can go.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna piggyback off what Tommy and Rye said. The NFL draft that year in 2017, it was just. I remember going me and my buddies, we went. I want to say around. It was probably like noonish, and it was fucking hot that day.
Yep.
It was so hot that day. It was hot, but the environment, it was fun. There was a lot of stuff to do, and I don't know if you guys did it, but like if you didn't get a ticket for the NFL draft, there was like a little kiosk you could go to, and you could put in your phone information. If there was a seat available, they'd text you, be like, "Oh, you have this many amount of seats available, whatever. You can go and watch the draft. You have your own personal seat." Me and my buddies leave. We get back to our house to watch the draft. I get the text message, be like, "Oh, your seats are available." Be like, "Well, I'm not in the city anymore." So, but no, I have to say the NFL draft was definitely an event I'll never forget. Just a phenomenal day.
Absolutely. Bri?
So I'm going to jump into the hockey here. There was a Flyers game I went to a few years ago with my brother and my little sister, and they were playing the Winnipeg Jets that game, and they were just absolutely getting manhandled early. I believe at the end of the first period, it was like 5-1. Arguing with the guy next to me. It was like the year after their Stanley Cup run when they lost to Chicago. So I think it was like the 2011 season. And I'm just sitting there, and my brother and my sister are like, we should probably get out of here soon. I'm like, no, let's just sit and wait and see what happens. So second period, it comes along. Winnipeg goes up like 6-1, 7-1. And then the Flyers finally wake up. It's 7-2, 7-3, 7-4 after the second period. That place was starting to get electric with the way they were playing, the way they were coming back. I guess the ice surface was terrible. But, third period starts 7-5. Now things are getting interesting. About midway through the third period, 7-6. Winnipeg goes back up 8-6. Well, the Flyers in the final 5 minutes find a way to score 2 goals and tie it up 8-8. That place is just going berserk. I swear there was like rioting in the stands that night. So it goes to overtime. Flyers wind up losing in overtime, but that may have been the most resilient, one of the single-handedly greatest games I've ever seen the Flyers play and come back from.
Comebacks are always ones you remember.
Yeah.
So you want to talk
from a deficit that big.
Yeah, where people are leaving and you come back, there's some of the best ones. There was a Phillies game way back. I don't remember. It was against the Giants. I was really young, but they were down. I think they were down like 8-9 runs coming into their final 2 at bats, and they came all the way back and won, and like nobody was left at the vet by that point. But I don't remember it exactly, but I remember like deficit games stick with you no matter how, if you were at it, no matter how long ago it was.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Phillies game I went to with a couple buddies who left me by myself. I'm like, you know what? Let me just stay and finish watching the rest of the game.
Mhm.
Phillies wound up coming back into the bottom of the ninth, winning that game. So that, those comebacks, like you were saying, Tom, they really stick to you. They stick out. You remember them, some of them the most.
Yeah, because if you're in the car and you left that game and then you're listening to it on the radio and a comeback happens, like, yeah, you have a ton of joy because they came back, but you almost want to punch yourself square in the face for being a jackass and leaving. So there's the combo because you spent money. And then you're like, I left this shit. They want to come back now? Now you guys want to fight? When I'm not in there, then you feel like you can't go to any more games, that you should not be allowed because it's bigger than you, and you just sit right on your goddamn couch and not go anywhere because when you don't attend, they win. Or when you leave early, they make a great comeback. I've had a couple where I'm driving home and still listening and like, oh, we're gonna do this. This game. Andy, got another one?
Yeah, so it's funny that you talk about leaving somewhere. So when I was really little, my dad drove us to Pocono for one of the NASCAR races, and I was so young that I couldn't see the back turn. So I just kind of was like, "All right, Dad, I want to go home." My dad was a huge Bobby Labonte fan, and I remember we're in the car on the way home, and Bobby actually ends up winning that race. I don't think I've ever seen my dad so upset with me about leaving a sporting event. So it was ingrained in me that day. Don't ever leave. Don't ever leave a sporting event because you never know what's going to happen. But you guys want to talk about all-day experiences and all-day events. WrestleMania in Brooklyn last year, I walked into MetLife Stadium at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I walked out of MetLife at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then it took, because Chrome was with me at that point, It took another 2 hours to get back to the hotel in New York in the rain after being exhausted. Like the whole buildup of everything and how historic the night was. Like we made the joke the other night that last year was the first 2-night WrestleMania because the main event didn't go on until Monday morning. So it was really cool last year.
No, yeah, I mean that's a Super Bowl effect about
Oh,
WrestleMania.
absolutely.
So you're
But
talking.
hey, guys, I do have to jump off. I have to go put another hat on and be a youth group advisor. So thank you for letting me join, and I will see you guys later.
Fucking
All
go,
right, Andy.
All right, Andy.
brother.
Bye, guys.
Later.
WrestleMania. You talk about that. That's a freaking Super Bowl for wrestling fans. So that's all. I see you, Ralphie. I'm right with you, baby. But in terms of it, that's their Super Bowl. So I mean, that's the kind of event it is where you're talking about the all-dayer, and you're stuck now. On sporting event wise, the best event I've been to, period, when it comes to sports, was the '08 parade. There is nothing better. Nothing better. Eagles parade, amazing. Amazing, 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 amazing. '08 meant so much more. Not that 2017 didn't. 2017 meant so much more in a different reason than '08 did. '08 was the monkey for the city is off our backs. We finally got to experience one. That's what '08 was. So when you talk about that parade where I was in my age at the time, we were talking about 25, I think.
Yeah, I was seventh grade in 08.
So
Yep.
what am I? I'm 37 now. So '08, I was like 23, 24 then, probably something like that. Whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, you got a couple years on me, so
yeah,
yeah,
but that age,
about that.
yeah. So at that age, you're with all your lifelong friends at this parade too. That it
Yeah.
meant so much to, and just the guys going by like Pat Barrel on a Clydesdale, right, and chugging beers with us, like literally chugging beers, and like my buddy Lenny pointing at him, and then both chugging a beer at the same time, just like little things like that. And like the Eagles parade was packed, but I don't want to hear anybody. It ain't up for a debate. There was more at the Phillies parade. There was more. I mean, them streets, like for me getting over to both, it was easier for the Eagles to get over. Still hard. Don't get me wrong, because there's a lot of people there. But the Phillies was jammed. Chance, anybody that was at the Phillies '08 parade, chime in. Tell me I'm wrong. There was more there. I was at both. There was more. You couldn't get around at the Phillies parade. There was no movement. With the Eagles parade, there was a little bit of movement depending on where you were at. If you were at certain parts, it was jammed up. But for the Phillies, everywhere was jammed up.
We
Rows.
We tried getting over there. It was funny because it was on Halloween. That's when the parade was. And I remember we got there because we were going to take a train over, which obviously didn't pan out too well. We got there like 6 a.m, and because we thought like, oh, we'll get there, extremely early. Or no, it might have actually been earlier than that. We're going to get there extremely early. We'll beat the crowd. We were literally, it felt like a mile back just to get in to, the speed line station. And so we were there probably for 4 hours and we couldn't even get over there. So, and then obviously, so that's the one thing that I still have to cross off my bucket list, and that is to get over to one of those parades because I haven't gotten a chance to be at either of them. But I can only imagine.
And listen, you don't and I know you're a guy who would rather, stay in, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We're similar in terms of like going to sporting events, me and you. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have opportunities like that, because you don't know when they come around,
Exactly.
it's like you jump all over it and you enjoy the moment. And the Eagles was obviously, a little bit colder than the Phillies at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Eagles, I had a great spot, great setup, and it was a amazing time. Don't get me wrong. And the walk down Broad and all the things that went in the Eagles, I'll never forget it. It's my next best. But just the experience and the amount of freaking people that waited so long for to be called champions in any sport.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that '08 rivals any parade ever in the history of this city. Even the first Flyers one. It rivals the first Flyers one. It rivals the Sixers one. So I would love to hear people's opinion. I know Bryce Blackwell was like, '08 parade was epic. You ain't lying, and I'm older than you guys, so it's one that I can speak on more for the people that are in the age where they got to be hit both. You know, where you were able to hit both and you're at the age where you could. I want to hear from you because I don't think it was the Eagles had more of a drawing than the Phillies. And I think for most of us it meant more. I want to know which one meant more to you too, because the Eagles meant more so people would shut the hell up about us. That's the difference. The Eagles meant more so people would stop talking shit. We don't got one, right? And the Phillies meant more because we didn't have one period in any sport in my lifetime, and a lot of our lifetimes. So it's like, yo, we can give you all this because before the memes, if in 08 there was memes going around, okay, like they are now, it would have been Philly don't got one period since 1980, right? Or whenever the Phillies won, 82, 81 or whatever it was.
It was 80.
80. It was 1980, yeah.
80. So it was that long. So it would have been meme for days. Philly don't got any. So it was a monkey off our back. Similar to the Eagles, but more as a city.
See, the question you brought up on, which was, meant more to you, to me, it's such a difficult question because obviously
answer in a way.
Say that again.
You're almost not qualified age-wise to even answer it. That's not a shot at you. It's
no. I understand.
You're caught more. Your age, the Eagles should mean more to you.
Well, I would say the only way. See, I disagree because the only way the Eagles one would mean more to me is not even a fan thing. It's for what it meant to us at A2D wise, because you know what I'm saying. Like, but to me, I still believe it's 08 because it was the first. It was the first experience of all of that, and then especially because even me being obviously how old was that? Ralphie? How you said you were in 7th grade? So
yeah, so I was like 12 years old, 13 years old.
To where obviously I didn't experience, the heartache or, all the bad times that, a lot of other people did. But even it being 3-4 years after the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? Of us losing in the Super Bowl to the Patriots, obviously us losing in the finals to the Sixers, to where, like, don't get me wrong, the Eagles Super Bowl meant so much to me because obviously we were on a ride with it. Aside from just being fans, but, obviously we were doing this stuff to where I can't even imagine if we were doing this stuff back in 08. I mean, that would have been, unreal. But to me, it's still 08 to me. That means more to me.
And you know what? The more I think about it, like 93 for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the Phillies, that Phillies team, and I may have been, what was I?
I was 8,
12?
so.
No, I was 11. So, so now, relating to you guys on that one, where I remember like putting my cards out, like I had all my baseball cards and I would have the whole lineup out for the night in the World Series and what that whole run meant to me and then the devastation of it. So, it's fair because at that age, around that age, it's still impactful. It can still be impactful for you. I know Chrome was saying I was there in 08, way more packed than the Eagles parade. We got there at 7:30 a.m. and it was insane. Rob Brinkman, Phillies parade was awesome. He said Phillies was awesome in 08. Was in college with a bunch of Mets fans. That's always great. They able to rub that in. Matt Spill says my dad used to take me down to Baltimore 1 week in a year to stay down by the harbor and catch a weekend of Cal Ripken at Camden Yards. We were Phillies fans, but he was a big time Cal Ripken fan. Good times. And nothing wrong with that, bro. That's great.
Nah, man.
That's amazing. One of my best friends was a huge Cal guy, even though he is a Phillies fan.
I mean, so, I'm Phillies through and through, but I loved watching Ken Griffey Jr. growing up. Like he was a stud. There's the reason why he was as good as he was, and it's a shame he had those injuries in Cincinnati. Like it put a huge handicap on his career. I think his numbers would have been a lot better if he got those 2 or 3 years back.
Yep, he was must-watch TV.
Sweetest swinging baseball, baby.
The best of all time, in my opinion. Sweetest.
I'm right there with you.
Now, Tony's the best hitter of all time, but sweetest swing is Ken.
Oh, absolutely.
Sweetest swing. Nick Giuliano says, easily the 08 clincher. Me and my pops were at the game, sat there in the freezing rain the first night and came back 2 days later to witness it all. Nick,
love it.
Jules, that's my one. That's my one. And like to me, like I said, the double game meant so much to me because I went with my mom first. And then to be able to go back with my dad and get both of them and be able to say, I went with both, and to be able to see my dad's reaction on what it meant to him to get over that hump. That's why 08 will always have a special place in my heart. Now I get it. There's Eagles fans are some Eagles fans aren't Phillies fans. I get that. So I can see how people would be just only Eagles. But I think for the 4-for-4 people out there, or at least 3-for-4 or 2-for-4 that the Phillies and Eagles are in your favorite teams, I think we'll all say to a man that 08 just meant something different.
Mhm.
Something different. Like I said, 2017 was more like an FU. We're going to break a curse in a way that you never even seen curses broken.
Mm-hmm.
It meant more to, as Eagles fans, that we never had one. But I think if we would have won, if 08 would have been the Eagles, hypothetically, it would have been a mess down there.
Oh,
Right.
You
God.
thought it was packed for the But I think, though, as a city, I always say this, man, when the Phillies are good, this is a baseball town. It's
Yeah.
a baseball city. I always say that. I'll stand by that shit. Right now, again, when the Eagles stink, they're always talked about. That is factual. Good, bad, or indifferent, Eagles always talked about. But when the Phillies are rolling, it rivals everybody.
We saw it obviously when it was on TV the other day, and again, this was just the 07 clincher, but the crowds it was just different. It's different because I was thinking to myself, and I'm not trying to say that we're the best fan base. I'm not trying to do that, but to me,
no, go ahead and do that. But go ahead.
yeah. But to me, and Daly, I know you were watching, the game on TV the same as I was, to where, to me, and Daly, tell me if you agree with this. Looking back on that, Astros fans, the Dodger fans, they weren't standing up the entire game like that, and that wasn't even a World Series game. That was a regular season final game of the year, and it was obviously big. I'm not saying it was a random Tuesday afternoon in July. It was a big game. It was a big moment.
Absolutely,
But
and
it just hits different, to Tom's point, when baseball is back in this city, and it sucks because it's been so long. It's that's why it's a shame, because it's like two stages in my lifetime, to where you had the stretch of the 14 years from 93 to obviously 07, and then you had that little bubble of time from like 07 to 11, even I would say 12, but because they thought they could still compete, but they couldn't. So like 07 to 11, and then you get this kind of second wave from 12 to obviously now, to where it's kind of, and now they're kind of moving back up. It's not 2015 or 16, but it's like we only have, at least in my lifetime, that handful of years to where you can really say, oh my God, they were great. You know what I mean? That's why it's more meaningful to me, because the Eagles, like we talked about, man, the Eagles in my lifetime, they never really had those complete 4 or 5 year stretches of being
Disasters.
bad. Yeah. Yes, they had that one really bad year, the last year of Andy, and they had some disappointments. Like the final year of Chip was obviously bad. Like they had some disappointing moments. But you talk about all the playoff games, all the conference runs, the Super Bowl runs, for example. The Phillies, other than those 4 or 5 years, it's kind of a lot of disappointment. So that time in my life is treasured, because it's such a small moment in time.
No, absolutely. I'm with you there, right?
Go ahead, Daly.
To piggyback off what you said about the game in 07, just that triple that J-Roll hit to become the 2020 guy, from that moment on throughout that entire game, that crowd just didn't stay quiet.
Yep.
They were loud, and they were letting everybody hear about it. And then Ryan Howard's home run to pretty much put the game completely out of reach.
Well,
it's like I said earlier, it was a very chilling moment, because it was the start of something so special for this club that not many people got to see, especially in their lifetimes.
And on top of that, too, Daly, we got to remember, too, we were watching 2 games at once. We were watching the Phils game.
And the Mets and the Marlins.
We were watching 2, to where we had 2 celebrations of and it was right in the beginning of the 9th inning.
Yeah.
To where it was right. It was awesome how it happened, because as soon as they took the field, that's when it went final.
Yep.
So it was captured, obviously, on the broadcast. So where it was the emotions of 2 games. So it was nonstop. The adrenaline was at an all-time high. There was no downpour.
You could smell it happen in 06 too, a little bit when
a little bit
when the call up happened officially. Well, well, when he officially played a full season in Ryan Howard, and an essential Rookie of the Year, then MVP, you know, and all the things that transpired through his time, because he was, to me, always the carrier and the piece that was needed to really get you over the top. A guy who can hit 40, 45, 50 home runs and scare people. And, you know, that really started in 06, where you could see that start to take place, and what you had as a baseball team with Rollins and Utley and Howard and just the core, you know, the core of what you had, and Pat. So you can sort of see it happening. So it was a fun grow into what transpired in 07, and then what happened, obviously, in 08, and then obviously being competitive moving forward to about 2011. You know,
Yeah, and it
was a special little run.
I got to put this out there while we're still talking about it. To hear Harry Callis's voice again calling a baseball game, it was just so chilling. Like I legitimately teared up when I heard him make that home run call. Like it's just it's so missed. The way he called the game, the way he painted the picture, there was nobody better. There's nobody better.
Yeah, 100% spot on. Truly missed that voice.
Absolutely.
Every time you hear it, today, even back then, it's a goosebump voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, automatic.
Yeah.
Automatically. Boy, some other ones you guys got? Jake, Ralphie?
Oh man, I guess when I was a little kid, me and my dad had season tickets to the Phantoms when they were playing when they were still at the Spectrum, and it was the night that they got in the line brawl with the Binghamton Senators, and all of a sudden Neil Little comes down, roaring down the ice, and he jumps over the pile, and it was just, the place was just going nuts. As a little kid, I wanted to grab somebody and started punching them in the face, but I couldn't. But other than that when that was going on, that line brawl, as a little kid, seeing that live was just insane. It was just crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Neil Little, he was a little Ron Hextall 2.0 with that aggressive side that he had.
Shit. Yeah, I loved it.
He was fun.
Yeah, Chrome goes, guys, sometimes it just feels special to be at a regular game. First time I saw Holiday pitch live, pump me up. Yeah, there's a lot of, Bry talked about that opening day last year with the Phillies. I was at opening day as well. Just the environment that not only opening day is, but, Harper and everything that came last year is something that sticks out. And, I think there's other games that stick out to you throughout time too. It's just guys' first games, and I'll get into it after Jake goes, but some of the Iverson moments that I've had that will always stand out to me.
I'm gonna go similar to where Ralphie went. I remember I think I was like 5 years old. My dad got me 100 level tickets for my birthday. He brought me to my first hockey game. I don't remember the matchup completely, but I just remember seeing there was just a huge brawl in front of me. My dad starts banging on the glass. I start banging on the glass, and it just made me kind of just enshrined that fanhood in me, if that makes sense.
No,
that's kind of what just got me started falling in love with sports.
No, I mean, I was similar from the first live game you ever go to. Like, if you have a love for baseball, first time you go to a Phillies game, even if you're walking into that rat hole of a Veteran Stadium, you catch that feel for the first time. You catch the smell of the hot dogs, the popcorn, seeing the players run onto the field during warm-ups. It's just something that, if you have a love for that game, you see it live for the first time with the professionals, it just enshrines in you, and that love just continues to grow. I still have that. I'm going to be 35 this year, and every time I go to a Phillies game, I'm still in awe every time I see that field.
Yeah, so miss so much right now.
Yeah,
miss so much right now.
I was supposed to go to opening day on Thursday, and then
Same.
obviously,
yeah, right.
And obviously, 08 2017 parade, probably the next best moment that I've had, and everything that led up to that. Just not having one, everybody talking shit for so long, and everything that came with that, and it was a weird one too, because it created such a split between this fan base as well. So much happened with that Super Bowl too. Then you have the people that only wanted to give credit. It was only Nick Foles who won it, nobody else on the roster. You had them people. So some bad things transpired that we had to take. Was part of what God was like, oh, we'll give you this. But then you got to deal with the devil right afterwards. And the devil was the people who wanted, Foles over Wentz. And the only reason we went to a Super Bowl was Foles. And the only reason we won because of Nick. Nobody else played in that football game. Nick beat the Patriots by himself. So you got them people. So that's something we had to take because we won one. That was a give and take. We'll give you a Super Bowl, but we're going to give you morons too.
I thought of another one too, and this is non-Philly, and it's ironic too because I absolutely hate the New York Yankees, despise them, and I was never a fan of this player. I kind of like him now, in broadcasting and stuff. I was at the original Yankee Stadium. It was the first time I was at Yankee Stadium for A-Rod's 400th. Let me tell you, if it was. Well, no, I know for a fact it was at least 100 degrees that day. And, of course, we were sitting right in the sun. And if anybody's been to the old Yankee Stadium, you would know that you would think, oh, well, you'll just go – I don't even want to say the concourse because there was no freaking concourse. It was literally the tunnels. It was a tunnel. So we were like, oh, we'll go in the shade. Sure, it wasn't in the sun. Those tunnels, if it was 100 degrees outside, it was 200 – it was like friggin' ovens in those tunnels. So it was no escape. But it's funny because it was a chore being there because you're just baking. You're just dying out there. But being able to see obviously something as historic as his 400th home run, that was amazing because we were kind of joking in the car on the way up there, like, oh, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen now? And I was saying, oh, of course not. A-Rod will never give me this gift because he knows, because I hate him and he'll never do this for me. And it was awesome being there, and kind of seeing from the outside, a fan base react to, one of their guys, with such a historic moment. It was cool. It was more meaningful to me than I thought it would be because obviously, like I said, I don't root for the Yankees and I most certainly didn't root for Alex Rodriguez at the time.
I don't have anything like that, but, just an atmosphere, going to Fenway Park for the first time was like, that's just something in and of itself is, you walk through the turnstile and you just, first of all, there's probably similar to Yankee Stadium. There's no concourse whatsoever. You go through the turnstile and you're still on the street.
Yep. That's the concourse. It's literally a street.
Yeah. So like everything you need is just like right on that little strip there. But you walk into the stadium, like you're already feeling like you're feeling a ton of history just piling up on you. But if you walk through the tunnel and you see that grass and you see that monster, oh, let me tell you, I've never experienced chills like that before in my life.
Has anybody else in here been to Fenway?
I have not, but my grandmother went to the very first Chicago game, Wrigley Field first night game ever.
Wow. Oh my God,
that's pretty cool.
So I forget what year that was, but yeah, she went to the first ever night game at Wrigley Field.
Daly, since you're the only one that's been to Fenway, to me, I did like the tour and everything when I went there last year, but didn't it feel smaller to you? Didn't you expect it to be bigger? It's for anybody who is going to go there eventually or hasn't been there. You expect this grand, and it's awesome. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put it down or anything because it's one of my favorite ballparks I've been to. You expect obviously this this grand entrance and obviously a big property because of obviously the Green Monster. So you just think big. It's actually a very, very small property. It's extremely small.
Yeah,
part
of
the old. Everybody was smaller back then too.
Yeah. Oh, the seats are friggin'
smaller.
The seats were terrible.
The best updated ballpark, new ballpark. The best new ballpark I've been to, no question, is Petco Park in San Diego. It's not even close. It ain't even close. And it's so underrated because, who cares about the Padres? You know what I mean? So it's an underrated park. It's the way their seats are aligned. It is little things. It's little things make it a great park.
I've been to Houston. Like their ballpark is small too, and there's not really much to do there either. Like they got a bunch of places where you can eat and stuff, but like you walk around, there's not really much to do, not much to see. they have this home run pump or something like that they had that was immortalized from the first home run hit, which was actually against the Philadelphia Phillies when they opened up that ballpark, which I thought was kind of cool.
Surprising. No surprises here.
None.
No, I remember we talking about great moments you were at. Nolan Ryan. I watched him pitch a no-hitter in Texas when I was younger, at the old Rangers ballpark. So that's a moment that I'll never forget. I know Chrome's saying PNC Park. We're going to do a show all on favorite ballparks. So that's coming soon. So don't worry about that. He said, I love PNC Park. PNC and Petco are my favorites, but I'd like to check out Petco. You have to. Really, I mean, to me, getting out to the West Coast right now isn't happening for nobody. But when everything gets back to normal, that's a place I suggest a lot of people will go to.
I'm trying to hit New York this year.
And for the smokers out there, they give you an option to go out. They stamp you. You come back in. It's common sense. It's little things that tie in the great ballpark. All right, little tiny things. Doug Stasek, what's up, Doug? He says, was it the Phillies versus Cubs game and left before Harper hit the grand slam last year?
Oh my God!
And we were just talking about that before. Doug mentioned, games how many games were we at that we left that could have been big moments for us, but ended up we're driving in the car listening on the way home, and they come all the way back on you. The bittersweet ones.
I left early for one Phillies game. It was in overtime, the one where Ryan Howard almost murdered the third base umpire. I left early for that game. I would love to see that moment in real life, just to see how the atmosphere was like after he got tossed.
Yeah, I was at JD Drew battery night. Another great moment.
Oh my God.
Great moment. And that wasn't 700 level batteries, family. Them batteries were coming from the 1, 2, and 3. All right. They were fine. It was like, I thought they gave away batteries at the gate.
I thought they would have too. Where are you sitting?
That's how many got tossed.
Where are you sitting? 300 level? Here's a pack of double A's.
Somewhere down there. Yeah. I think I was 300-ish.
It's funny too, because a perfect example of another one on why you shouldn't leave games. I was at the very first game, and it wasn't even a regular season game, at Citizens Bank. It was one of those, preseason games type thing. And it was snowing at the time. It was like sleeting and snowing, and it was constant delays. So we were there for probably 3 hours and just kept getting delayed. And we figured, we'll go home. Wouldn't you know it, by the time we get home, guess what's on the TV? It's sunny, it's nice out, and they're playing a freaking game. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, all right, this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, I wound up going to the inaugural game at Citizens Bank Park, and I went to the finale at the Vet. So those moments are pretty cool with the ceremonies, with everything they've done. That was pretty awesome, especially the Vet. That was another one where I got a little teary-eyed.
And another one, talk about, what could have been type things. We had tickets for the game that ended up being the Kevin Millwood no-hitter.
Oh.
But I had a makeup travel soccer game, because I remember I was in first grade. I've never been so disappointed in winning a soccer game my entire life. And by the way, you should see my screen. You should see, and for people at home who don't know what I'm talking about, my screen on my side, my computer screen is literally opening windows and just flickering all over the place. So if you see me look this way, it's because I feel like I have a ghost in my computer right now. So if you hear screaming, it's me.
There's and there's so many, Chrome said I've never left games until the last few seasons. I've always stayed until the very end, no matter what. I've been fortunate that the games I've left, I haven't missed anything. Yep, and it'll come. You do it enough. You get some heartbreakers driving home. Rob Brinkman said 4th and 26 was the best game he was ever at.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Tom Lucas, we're talking about, some stadiums. Said Target Field's really nice out in Minnesota. There's tons of moments. But like I said, the best sporting event I've been to live was hands down 08 World Series. Just everything that went into it meant so much to so many people. Chrome says I was offered a free ticket to Holidays playoff no-hitter against Cincinnati, and I passed With a chick.
Oh.
Fucking major fan.
Just like Chrome.
Fun fact, it is possible to hit a home run and have it land in another state. The state of Ohio does not own the Ohio River. The ball will land in Kentucky. So,
Thank you, Frank. The more you know.
Yeah.
I have two more kind of off the wall events that I've been to that I'll always remember. Number one, and Tom, I know you will not appreciate this one because this is a running joke with you and I. From actually one of the first shows we ever did, and first time I met you. I was at the 2010 Breeders' Cup, and I witnessed what is regarded as one of the best horse racing events ever. With and all you horse racing junkies, you'll know who this is. Horse Zenyatta. It was in Churchill Downs in Kentucky, and obviously, I'm not going to go into detail because it's not a horse racing show. But for the horse racing fans, you know why it was special. Obviously, it was a historic day. It was her last race, and we were in the front row, so being there was crazy. And I won $120 on that race. Cha-ching! It was my first live sport betting experience, so I got off to a good start. And then
been downhill ever since.
It has. I have since retired from sports betting forever. And the other one was U.S. Open third round at Marion. I was about this far away from Tiger, and I was scared to death. Just him. Again, it's kind of like talking about playoff experience. It's where it just feels different. Tiger Woods was 2 holes away, and we had like a group sheet, because when you get in there, you have like the sheet where the tee times and everything. So who's going to be next. And we were at at one of the short par 3s on the 13th hole. And we were like counting down the moments, like, okay, Tiger's 3 groups away, 2 groups away, 1 group away. And as you were getting closer and closer, people started to get a little tense, a little bit nervous. And Tiger wasn't having a good day that day. He started like 2 shots off the lead and he had a bad day. When Tiger Woods showed up and he came around the corner and you saw him, you wouldn't dare say a word when it was silent. The only time people were cheering was when he hit a shot. So that was very, very cool. And like I said, it was scary too, being that close to him.
Yeah, I think anything to do with Tiger is always a good event.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, Goff, can't really get loud there. It's not really, how it goes.
Go to a Ryder Cup, y'all. I'll beg to differ. Ryder Cup.
Well, not till, and in other sports, I'm allowed to get all over a guy I don't like, and he can pay me back. Because in other sports, guys have brass sets, right? They got to deal with what comes from the crowd going and visiting different places. Golf's that one sport where you don't have to deal with any BS. Unless you're walking, maybe somebody says something to you, but it's frowned upon. Where in other sports, like Josh Donaldson last year when he came here from Atlanta, I was all over, loved it, and he heard it because he was looking back. So like that kind of thing, I wish Goff did more of. Like if you don't like somebody, you should be able to lay into him before he swings. Fuck it, guys can get a whole crowd against them when they're up a bat about to hit 98 for 1 or 100. They got a whole crowd all over them. But at Goff, you got to be quiet. That's the only thing I don't like about Goff is you got to be quiet when they hit. The fuck up. I should be able to yell and scream before you hit. You're a professional. You should be able to deal with it. I'm paying a lot of money to go to majors.
A lot of money.
Can't even bring cell phones. You can't even bring cell phones in there.
Exactly. And
oh, really?
PGA's been ass backwards with that forever. PGA's been ass backwards for that forever. I mean,
completely agree.
You got to grow with the times with certain things. You have to. It doesn't have to be the high society club anymore. You want it for everybody.
Yep.
So you have to cater some things to everybody. That's all. That's the things they could do better. But no, I mean, I can imagine, anything Tiger related is epic. Mm-hmm. Even if he wasn't even in contention. Just being able to see him and be close to him, would do it for a lot of people, even the casual golf people like myself.
Yeah, he's an icon.
Tiger swing, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's an icon.
He's an icon. He's
I will say that golf doesn't have any trash can problems or anything. You don't have to worry about anybody hitting trash cans. You know what I mean?
True, with a shot.
Yeah, I wish that'd be
Both
fun.
didn't coming. Oh, I left one. I left one out that I gotta get to. And Chrome sort of reminded me when you were saying sat behind Red's dugout in St. Louis. During Philly spring training, I was able to be the bat boy for the Rangers when I was younger, and I got to be around Pudge Rodriguez, Juan Gonzalez,
Wow.
Oates, who was the manager of the time. I got to sit right next to. Really cool experience. I remember having to get pine tar for Pudge and him not speaking any English and me not having a clue what he meant because I don't even know if I knew what pine tar was at the time. And it was like, pine tar. I went, what? What am I getting? I had no idea. Just being scared to death. I was going to bring back the wrong thing for him. So it was just a great experience. Was able to meet, some great players at the time and sort of see Pudge from a different environment than you obviously would. So it was cool to meet players and just to be in the dugout, even though it was only spring training.
Hey, spring training or not, it's a cool experience for anybody.
Yep.
Gongo says second best game I've been to was going with my father-in-law to the New York Meadowlands in 2010. He's a big Giants fan. That comeback by Vic was mind-blowing. That's a money one right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a money one.
Absolutely.
Money. Especially with the father-in-law being a Giants fan. Double whammy. What did you want to call Ryan Howard when he was the best statue in Phillies history? Anybody know what that means?
No, I have no idea what that
Wasn't sure. Wasn't sure what that means. I don't remember Ryan being 2010 NLCS. But he did. I guess he struggled a little bit. Is that what we're talking about?
Was that the year he blew out his Achilles too?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's a shot at Ryan.
Either that. No, it was 2011. One of the year they played the Cardinals and we lost
11.
11. That was 11. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess he had a bad series. Is what we're talking about against the Giants.
Oh yeah.
He had a bad series, I guess.
Yeah, I remember that series.
I've heard better shots taken at Howard than.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've heard better deliveries than that.
Yeah, I'm a Ryan Howard guy. He was a big part of what we accomplished here, especially and you don't get there without him. So I'm not going to take shots at a guy over a 5-year period who's probably the most feared hitter in baseball.
Yep.
And a lot of people say that, so it's not just me. A lot of people say that about him. So, boys, switch it up for a little bit. Just want to get your thoughts on Rex Ryan's comments about Amari Cooper. Do you agree or disagree with Rex saying he's a disappearing act and pretty much calling him a turd? I completely agree with the comments. I think he's spot on.
No, I agree too. The fact that he disappeared, week 7, just kind of stopped showing up, stopped playing, stopped catching balls, stopped pretty much putting forth any kind of effort. It was big for the Eagles in their comeback, and it was huge. A big reason why the Cowboys kind of just completely fell apart the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at the last game. What was it? Week 16 against when we played the Cowboys. He was pulling himself off the field. He wasn't. He wasn't even half of the plays that they were running. He wasn't even on the field for. So Rex Ryan is kind of right on the disappointment on the disappearing act. But I agree with the comments. I don't agree with the turd. I think he's a good football player. But I agree with the disappearing act. He does disappear at times.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the record, even before the offseason and free agency began, that for the money that he was going to want and get from whether it was the Cowboys or any other team, I said numerous times that I don't touch him. I don't. That he was one of those players where I felt like we talk about DeMarco, ex-Cowboy coming here, and we obviously know how that panned out.
Mm-hmm.
The Amari Cooper situation, obviously, to where, you've seen what he's done, not only with the Cowboys, but the Raiders too. And I understand the Raiders situation wasn't very good, especially at the end of, it's still not that great, to be honest. But when you talk about what, money he was going to get, he was one of those players where I already knew how he was going to pan out. And like we talked about, him pulling himself out of games, him, mentally checking out even before he pulled himself out of games. I mean, it was a regular occurrence. And the fact that you're doing that in a contract year is extremely alarming to me. Because if you're doing that coming up on when you need to get some money, what are you going to do when that money's guaranteed and you're good for a little bit? You know what I mean? That's not somebody, and I'm not saying he's going to be, a bad locker room guy or anything, but when you talk about certain things in a locker room, certain things that you want your guys, especially your big money guys, to be locked in at all times, especially in your biggest moments where, like Ralphie's point, pulled himself out of the Eagles game. That's a pretty friggin' big moment. That was for the division. Pulled himself out of the Bears game when he was getting crushed by Mitchell Trubisky, which, again, if you're getting crushed by Mitchell Trubisky, what the hell are you doing? There were so many instances to where he just felt like, and it was obvious just sitting at home on the couch that he had no interest in being there. I completely understand what Rex Ryan is talking about.
No, I mean, listen, I think it's as simple as saying look at the guy's numbers in cold weather games. Soft. That's as much as I got to say about it. I mean, soft. I mean, when guys don't show up in cold weather, it says a lot about a guy. And I've watched him continuously not show up in cold weather games. So it's cute what you can do in a dome, but what do you do outside?
Right. I think, and history's shown it too, the big criticism with Amari Cooper's consistency, right? So obviously, conveniently with games against us, he'll go off for 100, 200 plus yards, burn our corners, but then the next couple games, you'll have him to where he's hot for, say, like 3 or 4 games in a row, and then the next 7, he's gone. Prime example would be the Patriots game when he was literally blanketed against Stephon Gilmore. He had no catches, no yards, and same thing with Darius Slay last year. And now he has to go against Darius Slay 2 times a year, so that'll be fun.
Agreed.
Yep, good time. Yeah. Good time to have Slay. Roy make him earn that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as far as Amari goes, it's even going back to Oakland. It was never a question of how good he is and how good he can be. It's, he's a question of his attitude sometimes. And when things aren't going his way, he throws a hissy fit and he'll pull himself out of games and be a detriment to the team at times. So, with what he did in Dallas last year, pulling himself out, I'm good with not signing him. He can go get overpaid in Dallas and let Dallas handcuff themselves for however many years it's going to be. So, I'm better off.
Watch the guy flat out quit on his football team last year.
Yep.
I mean, that tells me all I need to know. I don't think he needs to go any further than that. I think Rex is spot on, and this is why I'm glad we didn't go out and back up the Brinks for him. Just because there's too many concerns, too many issues with consistency, too many issues with softness. So, I mean, when I'm going to pay number one, that's an alpha, right? That's a guy who wants the football. That's a guy that I'll pay a guy that is a little diva but wants the damn fucking football over a guy that doesn't want the football in big spots. I want the guy who wants it, not the guy that's going to have a 200-yard game and 3 touchdown game and do it a couple times a year. So in the padded stats to make him look good at the end of the year. No, I want a guy that's going to give me 100 game in, game out. Right? I want a guy that's got the ability to get 8 to 10 catches a game, somewhere, something like that. That's what I want. I don't want a guy that's every play he gets hit a little hard, waving the white flag. It's not what I want.
Sounds like you're describing Julio.
Exactly. To compare the two. Like I would rather take Antonio Brown's antics than have Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, at least his antics are off the field. On the field, Antonio shows up every game.
Just wants the ball, going to catch touchdowns. You know what I mean? On the field.
Yeah.
On the field, I don't trust him one goddamn bit.
Nope.
I don't trust him at all. I'm just saying I don't trust him that much, and I would take him over, and I would give him that contract over Amari is all I'm saying. I'll be on the field production. On the field production.
I mean, Antonio,
6 straight years of what? 100 catches? Something like that.
At least. But he's the guy, he won it out of Pittsburgh. You would not have ever known that off when he was playing because he still gave you everything. He still gave you everything he had. And then he finally got out, and then everything just kind of went to shit. But that was just AB.
Yeah, and I'm not begging for AB at all. I just, if I had a choice, I'll take the guy who's gonna catch freaking 80 balls a year in his sleep, even with a rap career on the. That's the guy. That's the guy I'll take. So listen, boys, we had some stuff, Eagles news on here, and NFL draft and Ruggs going higher, and I think we can save sort of the Eagles news for another day and not be a dead horse because nothing's happening. So instead of talking about the same thing we've talked about over and over and over again, we will talk about one thing in regards to the NFL draft and some things. I was talking to Ralphie before we even came on, before you guys even jumped in, was that they were talking about Ruggs stock even going higher right now, where Judy's stock is dropping. So for us Judy guys, which is pretty much the whole fucking panel, things could be looking up if you think you can actually get him. There was a point where Ralphie, we talked about it. I'm like, dude, I don't know how we get in the top 10 and get the guy. Now I'm thinking Ruggs is that top 10 guy according to some people, and that could be a win for us.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get up to 15 and get Judy, because Judy's better than Lamb. I think Ruggs is better than Lamb, just because of competition-wise. I'll take both of them over Lamb. I'm not going to be mad with Lamb, but they're talking about Judy's size. And some scouts having an issue with his size, which I find comical because both Ruggs and Lamb are all like the same goddamn size. They're all the same damn size. They're all under 200 pounds. Whoop-de-do.
Well, I think now the difference is, because I completely agree with you. They're around the same size. It's all about, what Ruggs did in the combine. It's all these combine people. And, oh, my God, it was it was so fantastic. And I'm not trying to say it wasn't. It was impressive what he did in the combine. But at the end of the day, like we've talked about numerous times, Jerry Jeudy's the best wide receiver in this draft. So if any situation where he's dropping, listen, that works better for the Eagles. So if teams, I'm not going to say if teams want to reach for Ruggs, because I think Ruggs is going to be pretty good. And the same thing for Lamb. I think all three are going to be very good at least. But if that means Jeudy falls from, let's say projected going around, 10, 11, 12, now he's going around, 15, 16, 17 or something, hell, Howie Roseman needs to be on the phone, because, I know the other day we were kind of convincing ourselves that, why maybe we'd be fine, more open, I guess, to, say, for example, with a 4 or maybe just the 3 wide receivers, at the top, if you're not including Jefferson. If they're gone, maybe, you trade back a little bit and acquire more picks, maybe a couple more picks in the second. But now, the more this is happening and we're still around 3 weeks away, if there's a chance you get up for Jeudy and you can steal him, you absolutely do.
No, you do. Listen, I mean, I would have did it all the way up in the top 10. I would have went up and got him in the top 10. You're telling me the chance I don't have to go up that far and I can still get him, or the possibility or potential for me to get him still maybe at 21. If things fall, if maybe people think Jefferson's better, maybe people start ranking Jefferson a little higher, a little bigger, right? A little stronger. Maybe people like him a little better. Maybe people like Lamb better. Maybe people like Ruggs better. That's what you sort of got to hope for. That maybe a few of these other execs have these guys higher on the board, and maybe a guy can fall into your lap. It's happened before. Guys that fell in the draft in the first round for lesser things, I guess. I mean, then you want to factor in size, because size to me, they're all smaller guys. So we're going to factor in size. If we're factoring size, then shouldn't Jefferson go first? Because I feel like he's bigger than the other 3. This doesn't make sense a little bit.
Size should be the first wide receiver taken off the board then.
Who?
If we're doing it by size, then Jefferson should be the first one off the board then.
No, that's how you would think.
Yeah.
John goes, if the Jets go O-line, then 14 is likely where we would have to get to. Raiders at 12 will likely go receiver. 49ers at 13 will go receiver. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that have the potential of going wide receiver. And we'll see how all that, shapes up.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Eagles going after that kid Jefferson. From what I understand, though, he's apparently built similar to Ruggs, but apparently he never took his 40 in the combine. And
No,
they're saying that he did take his 40.
Jefferson, you're talking about, yeah.
It just wasn't as fast as they would like.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I heard he's probably a little bit faster than Ruggs and would be a better option for the Eagles, especially for a deep threat.
No, I don't know. No, Ruggs is the fastest. Ruggs is if you're talking about speed, now the one kind of shot at Jefferson, which again, people are saying he's slow. He's not slow. But no, he's not faster than Ruggs.
That's the one thing Ruggs brings to the table and why his stock has skyrocketed throughout the draft. So, boys, that's all I got. Anybody's got anything else to bring to the table?
Nope.
We're all good. 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. Thank God.
Thank God for the NFL. We'll continuously say that every show. We're praying for everybody out there that has been personally affected by what's going on out there, and just people that have been affected without people being affected. Just by being stuck at home or losing jobs or whatever the case may be. We're sending our thoughts and prayers to everybody through this tough situation that we're dealing with as a country. We'll get through it. We'll get stronger. We'll have sports back, hopefully before we know it. But, knowing that we have at least another month to get through here, if not longer. But praying for some stuff in June and some sports talking about it. But we'll have the NFL draft to look forward to, and we'll keep you updated there throughout all our shows here. And, Jake, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Around at 2, and continue to talk and bring you guys something. But it was fun to talk about best sporting events we've been to. We're gonna have a lot of shows dedicated to stuff like this. Everybody had some great places they've been to. We all had different stuff, which was fun. So really a fun time. And a show that in a little almost like an hour and a half of just talking about places we've been to and different events that we've been able to witness. Just being a Philly sports fan, where we only have 2 titles in a lot of our livelihoods, our lives. So, family, if you haven't, subscribe, like, follow. All right, we got we're on every freaking platform there is, and if you're into the podcast game, obviously we're there as well. Everyone, Matt Spill, stay safe. Great show, guys. Thanks, brother. Tom Lucas, peace, guys. Jeremy Beal, what's up, fam? What's up, Jeremy? Everybody, be safe out there. Stay the hell home. Only go out when you need to, and wash your hands is corny. You should have been washing your hands all damn time. So I like and shower. Try to shower sometimes too. A lot of people are in, but try to keep your hygiene going. Try to hop in once a day if you can. Okay, won't hurt you. For Tom Arnone, Ralphie D, Ryan Brodo, Jake Friel, Brian Daly, Andy was on with us earlier. Had to jump off, and all our family out there joining us. Stay tuned. Shows daily. We love you and thank our doc doing remote services right now at Specialized Physical Therapy LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton locations. Find on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Boys, been real. Get back to your video games. We out.